All right, so we're all sitting by people we don't know. We've introduced ourselves. Are we good? We ready? So I'm Jeff Herring, Rediscover Your Play, and we're talking about burnout. Who has felt burnout in the last 3 years? Okay, all right. This topic is near and dear to me, and the key reason why I talk about extinguishing burnout by rediscovering your why through plays, we're going to be talking a lot about specifically why. We're getting into our why today. So I'm going to briefly go through stuff, and then we're going to start interacting and have some fun. Okay, so we're covering defining burnout, exploring our why, then we're defining play and flow because we're going to identify how we can get back into flow, especially when we're doing our work. Then we're going to get into why is getting your staff in flow important. Then we're going to dive into our play values. What did we love to do as a kid and why? And how does that actually tie in with your work now? So you can actually find that love for your work again. And then finally, I don't want to do this if you don't actually do it coming out of this. So anything I'm showing here, you literally can just do the exact same thing for your staff right after this, okay? Just mimic the exact same thing. If you need me to help you out, I can do that as well. So I will not give you a lot of slides with text because it's late in the game. It's late in the day. So I'll only read a few of these, okay? So burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So meaning really like feelings of energy depletion. Raise your hand if you felt that in the last 3 years. Increased mental distance, checking out. Have you checked out? Has anyone checked out? Or reduced professional efficacy. Basically, have you been less productive? Okay. I'm glad some people were willing to admit. I was even talking to someone during the long burger line, and they saw many of their colleagues actually tape that tea bag string to their cup. Have you seen that on TikTok? And then just pour all of their alcohol in that and then just pretend they're drinking tea all day. It was great. That's how they dealt with burnout. I don't recommend that, but you know, hey, you do you. So many reasons for burnout, right? Lack of control and autonomy, not getting a certain level of recognition, lack of actual support or community. I can't cover all of those. I'm only going to cover the lack of meaning and purpose because we don't have time to cover all of those. So this is what I'm specifically going to be covering. So you often feel tired, not because you've done too much, but because you've done too little of what sparks a light in you. So that's what we're going to be looking for. What happened? Where'd the spark go? Why did it go away? Can we get it back? This is what we're going to try to cultivate or find out today. So this is me pre-pandemic. And as you can see, this is me in my current form. And when I was a kid, I watched the movie Big. Did anyone watch the movie Big with Tom Hanks? Let's go. So I watched the movie Big with Tom Hanks. Love that movie. He basically was playing with toys for a living. So I saw the movie in 3rd grade and I was like, you can do that as a job? And I literally started writing toy companies on my word processor and mailing letters to them every day. And I would do that for the next 15 years until I got into the toy industry. And let me know, or raise your hand if you've ever felt this. Have you ever gotten exactly what you've always wanted and then been so disappointed when you arrive? Like, no, there was no toys, no fun, no high fives, cubicle walls for days, very toxic environment. I talk about that in another workshop. And it just was not like a fun place to be, even though it was supposed to be my dream job. So I was in New York at the time. I went to school in Boston, in New York at the time. I left there. I left my dream industry. And I came to the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where I live now, Oakland, California. And I bumped into an organization that was teaching kids engineering with Lego. It was on Craigslist. It was a joke of a job. I was paying $150 a week. I was like, I'm gonna just do it for like 6 months, then I'll be done. But it was so much fun that I was like, yo, I can do this for a living. And there were only 7 of us at the time. And what we ended up doing is we ended up building it into the largest Lego-inspired STEM organization in the US. So over the next 15 years, we taught 1 million kids. We taught 100,000 kids a year, but we had no idea what we were doing. No idea, no business plan. We followed our intuition. We picked cities we thought were fun. We picked people we thought were fun. We just followed our curiosity. we failed all the time. A lot of stuff that we probably should have gotten shut down for, but we survived, right? And we really focused on inspiring our staff rather than commanding them, because we didn't want to be commanded. We had dealt with like toxic bosses ourselves, and we were like, we don't want to deal with that. So after that, I got the attention, or our org got the attention of like Silicon Valley, Facebook, Google, Adobe, all those companies. So I started running team building events for them for the next 10 years. But I realized top companies in the world, right? Toxic places, not fun. Same issues as any other organization. They make it seem so dope, but it's not. They weren't actually doing the work either. So I created Rediscover Your Play to address toxicity at work, burnout, all that stuff, because I was like, why are we not having fun at work? Work sucks right now. Does it have to suck this much? Like, it just doesn't have to. So what are we going to do to figure that out? So this is what we're doing first. We are going to explore your why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 2 questions of you. I want you to pull out a piece of paper or whatever you're going to write with, and we're gonna do it in a quiet, calming sense, because we're gonna actually identify and really reflect on these 2 questions. All right. So the first question I'm gonna be asking you is, in your job right now, how many people's lives have you impacted in a positive way? And I'm talking about your career, your whole career. How many people? Directly, meaning people you've managed or people that you've worked with, or being that you're a business analyst, how many people with your strategies have you impacted in an indirect way? Just start thinking about, what does that number look like? Expand that out. I want you to get an understanding of the breadth of the impact that you have had. So I'm going to give you about a minute or 2 to explore that. So yeah, we can do it and I might play some music while we're doing that. So go right ahead and start thinking about that.
That forever last long?
That is for since you started doing your job as a business analyst, or however, whatever job you're currently doing. I know it's hard,
especially when you've been doing it for so long.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh, I know.
If it's hard, start with 1 year. If it's so hard to visualize everything, start with 1 year and then expand out from there. But really go back. I'll give you about 30 more seconds. So I did this recently. I did this on Monday for a bunch of speakers that speak to a lot of universities. And the person was like, they can't be right. Like, they just were like, I've been speaking for 10 years. It can't be right. And then she like added up and she was like, that's 50,000 people. Right. And it's just like, you would never think that. Right. And then she's like, well, I also post all this stuff on social media and people watch my videos. So it could even be more. And I don't think a lot of times we take the time to actually reflect on this. Like, I did this with a bunch of nonprofit lawyers in LA, and we just reflected on the last 10 years. And we're talking about over 100,000 people that they helped in some way to like stay in the country, So I think a lot of times we don't spend that time. So that's part of the reason why we're first starting with that. But then the next question that I have for you, perfect timing, is then I want you to explore by thinking of your most memorable and meaningful moment where you impacted someone in a positive way in your role. It could have been a conversation you had with someone. It could have been a project that you were working on that impacted a huge amount of people. But what is your why? What is the reason you are connected to your work? That when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I got to go to work. Why am I going to work? Because of this one moment. And it could be multiple moments, but pick one that comes up for you. All right, perfect timing. So now we've processed two questions for the people that just walked in. We processed the question of how many people's lives have you impacted in a positive way, specifically for your job, directly and indirectly. And then the second question is more of like a process of thinking your most memorable and meaningful moment where you impacted someone in a positive way. And now I want you to turn to the person that you sat next to, or you haven't sat next to find someone that you haven't spoken to yet. And I want you to share the answer to both of those. Go right ahead. And you just walked in, so this is the perfect time. They've answered the question. Think of it most Now give me about one more minute. Make sure everyone gets to share. Partners, join that group right there. Feel like. All right, wrap up. We can talk for a while. I get it. Start wrapping up. Okay, so usually I want to hear answers. We don't have a lot of time and we have many other things we have to do. But so one person share either something you heard from someone else that was really impactful or something you felt like compelled to share.
Okay, I'll go again.
Let's go. We're in it.
I recently had a coworker in the month of August. She took off for a week to go celebrate her mother's 100th birthday, which I'm like, yay, good for you. She came back really sick, ended up with pneumonia. She was out for another week. Then 2 weeks later, and we've got a project deadline in September, mid-September, to finish something up. Get on a WebEx with her and another coworker. The poor woman is in tears. She's in tears because she's having shoulder pain. And so she's worried about the project. She's tired of asking for help from either myself or everybody else in the team. She's like, I'm tired of having to do this. And I just take one look at her and I'm like, it's okay. We're a team. We're all gonna jump in to help. This project's gonna be fine. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be okay. I'm like, don't worry about anything else. I'm like, work is work. We'll all get it done. She's like, I know. So I'm pretty sure I helped calm her down, but it was a good feeling, just like everything's okay.
You had her back. You had her back. And part of the reason why we do this, and I recommend you do this at least once a year, if not twice a year. Heck, you could do this every quarter if you wanted to, but it's just like we forget. We're so busy all the time. We're always like rushing to the next thing. We don't even celebrate a huge accomplishment. Like you might be working on a project for 2 years, and then what do? Celebrate for like 1 hour? You have like some drinks, and then you go back. Like we need to be celebrating how dope we are, right? Like, come on, this is part of the fun of bringing like your why back, right? And it's great to ask people that have probably never even thought about this. But the other reason why I do this, and this is exactly what you could do, is what is actually happening chemically when you're doing this, right? First, you get a little dopamine. The same thing you get when you're scrolling on social media, but it's actually real because you're celebrating wins with other people. You're like, just you celebrating, you're getting dopamine and you're giving off dopamine, right? So there's an exchange that's already happening. It's the same thing when you're eating really good food. Like I just had that peanut butter burger. Hella good, damn. What's also happening when when we're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing, right? When you give that compliment back, you're actually getting that love, the oxytocin, the love hormone, which so many of us like desire or are looking for. Same thing when you're like, hanging out with a baby or hugging someone, and you can do that with compliments, right? There's a way in which you can actually acknowledge someone. Why are people feeling burnt out? They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They don't feel valued. They don't feel appreciated. What can you do? Simply this. Let's talk about why in the world are you still here? Like, what are you doing here? Like, we should have that conversation. Now, why did I have you do it in silence? Serotonin, mood stabilizer. We're trying to calm down the nervous system because you can't play when you're in an anxiety-ridden state. You can't play when you're stressed. You can't play when you're angry, when you're sad. But if you calm down and you get to reflect, that's great. And then the last one, I heard some people laughing, endorphins. Hello, you bring any laughter to any meeting, so much better meeting, right? I think some of the most important people in the room or most important people on the team are the people that just don't take themselves that seriously and are just not making jokes all the time, but like creating a fun space, because like that just makes me want to actually go to work, instead of just like every day, same thing over and over again. At least perhaps someone can lighten my day. And when you're laughing, then like the meeting goes faster. So recognize you're getting the dose. The dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, and the endorphins every time you're sharing stories, right? So take time. I challenge you to pause, even if it's just for like 30 minutes to an hour with a staffer, and do this. Do this with them and see how that actually addresses how they feel about work. And then do this with yourself, right? And if you want to do it with your friends over like some mimosas or something like that, and have a good time with it. But this is actually really important. Now, we're going to get into the play part, right? So I see play as any joyful act where you forget about time, where you're fully in the moment, you're fully in the flow. You are in your zone of genius, right? And what's also awesome is play is the opposite of perfection. This is where burnout comes from. Freaking perfection, dude. Like, gotta be right all the time. Ego, everyone's trying to look good. Everyone's trying to pretend to be their professional self. That's why I wear this bow tie, to remind myself, stop taking yourself so seriously, Jeff. You're wearing a freaking Lego bow tie. You're not that big of a deal. Okay, right? And what is it? So perfection, ego, shame, constantly trying to be right. What is play? sense of curiosity, wonder, experimentation, awe. Now, you might be like, that's actually not really important in the work setting. You can't make money when you're playing. I challenge you on that. I challenge you on that every day. So this is a play mentor of mine, Kevin Carroll. He quoted this from Stephen Johnson, who wrote this book called Wonderland, great book. And he would say, you'll find the future wherever people are having the most fun. What companies thrived during the pandemic? TikTok, Hulu, Netflix, taking risks. Any company that was taking risks and trying new things out, successful. The ones that were doing the same thing they were doing in 99 as they're doing in 2019, and now they're trying to do it now, antiquated, done. They might still be existing like Sears, but is anyone going to Sears? I don't know. I heard there's a Blockbuster still around in Alaska, but they're irrelevant, right? So any company, you want recruitment, you want retention, how fun is your organization? You know, I mean, I don't like Jeff Bezos. I'm not a fan of him, but back in 98, 99, watch the PBS documentary. When he was younger, he was solving the most interesting problems in the tech world in Silicon Valley. That's why all the tech people kept coming. That's why he got the best talent. They all bounced when he, you know, his ego got too big. But at the time, he was doing the coolest, most interesting stuff. So how are you bringing a really dynamic workplace where people actually want to be there? Now, the other thing is people will be like, well, prove to me that it makes money. I don't believe you that it makes money. You know, whatever, it's just play. Okay, Google 20% rule. They did this for the first 15 years of their company. They gave their staff a fifth of their time to do whatever they wanted, as long as it helped Google. So that's like 4 hours, right? Google's 20% rule or time created 50% of their products, ones that we all use. So Google AdSense, Gmail, Google News, Google Maps, Google Earth. The foundations of Google are built off of play. The foundations of a lot of companies are built off of play, because you're just like, I don't know, can we sell books online? I guess. Can we make like videos that are 7 seconds or people are going to look at them? I don't know, maybe. Like, that is the sense of wonder. What happened to that, right? Why are we stuck in this like world of perfection? But realize that it actually tangibly matters in the sense of you're going to make money because you're going to keep staff. People are actually going to be more productive because they want to be there. And it's actually going to be freaking fun. So they're going to be doing work even when they don't want to do work, because they want to hang out in that group, because it's a dope place to be. I was just at Riot Games not that long ago. That's a video game company in LA. People stayed there till 9, 10 at night just to hang out with their friends and play video games. I don't recommend everyone do that, but like that was the vibe. That was the style of that place. So now, oh, this is the good part. Now we actually get into real stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you 2 questions that I will want you to reflect on, but I will want you to close your eyes when I ask these questions. I will first show them to you so you wonder what they are, but then I actually want you to go back, because we're going to actually, this is part of the conjuring up the serotonin. We're going to reflect back on our childhood and play right now, okay? So I'm going to first show you the questions. The questions are, what was your favorite way to play as a kid? And why did you love to play in that way? Now, if you didn't play as a kid, totally fine. Just think of a way in which you play now, and why do you love to play in that way? But this is how we're going to do it. So go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-ask the question, but I'm going to get some context to it. I'm going to Okay. I want you to go back. And I want you to imagine, what did you love to play as a kid? And why did you love to play in that way? So I want you to picture who was with you. Were you outside? Were you inside? Was it spring? Was it summer? Was it fall? Was it winter? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? Was it like fresh grass or like the beach? I want you to go all the way back there, as if you're in your shoes as a kid. And now I want you to ask yourself, why did I love to play in that way? Was it the creativity? Was it the community? Was it the adventure? Because that's how you work. That's who you are. And then when you finally have crystallized why you love to play in that way, I will ask you to go ahead and open your eyes and then start to write that down. What did you love to do as a kid? Why did you love to play in that way? And try to identify specific adjectives like creative, adventurous, connection, community. What were the ways? And we're trying to identify at least 3 play values as to why. I'll give you about 1 more minute. Okay. Now, in the interest of time, usually we would actually share and we get all connected and we do a lot of these awesome things, but we are going to do that. But in a moment, we're going to do something else. So let me get to the nerdy part. I'm going to get into the why this is actually important from a work standpoint. Okay. Bear with me. I'm going to go through a little bit of science, and then we're going to get back into the actual play part. But what I want to make sure before we do that, have everyone identified at least 3 play values, 3 adjectives to describe your type of play. Raise your hand if you have. Just want to make sure. Okay, good. Because we're going to use these specifically in a moment. Okay. So why is play important, right? How does it connect to your work? It's basically synonymous with flow. And what is flow? Flow is the best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. This is Dr. Csikszentmihalyi. He was the doctor of flow. He just recently passed away, a positive psychologist, and he's like the master of talking about flow. And what he means by that, and this is the only flow chart I actually really like, is he talks about flow from this standpoint. So when you start a new job, you have no skill. So the challenge is really high. So you have all this anxiety. And you're like, I don't know if I can do this job. All this imposter syndrome. I don't know if I could ever do it, right? So high anxiety. When you've been in a job forever though, right? Your skill's so high, challenge is gone, so you're bored. So what we're trying to find is we're trying to find the flow state. So we're trying to find that pivotal point between anxiety and boredom. So you're trying to find a challenge that meets your skill set. And this is something you can even talk to your boss about, or your colleagues about, of like, what is something that actually will challenge me intellectually and get me out of my rut? Because frankly, it's just been so easy for me for so long, right? So that's what we're trying to figure out. What is the challenge that will meet the skill set so you can actually get into flow? What actually happens when you get into flow? You go through something called transient hypofrontality. Not very complicated. Transient is the temporary part. Hypo talks about underactivity, and frontality talks about the prefrontal cortex. What actually happens? Your inner critic gets quiet. It shuts down. And when it happens, you get a shot of dopamine. You become highly creative and you start grabbing all of these ideas from different places. The best inventions have been created from this point because your brain goes through something called the alpha theta zone. And then there are all these gamma waves that all of a sudden occur. And then you start grabbing ideas from your childhood, from college, from this place. I don't know why I would put these ideas together, but they start all coming together and you come up with ideas you never thought possible. And a great way to get yourself into flow is to get bored. Like, I challenge you to get freaking bored. And what I mean by that is like, stop looking at email, stop looking at social media. And I'm not talking about forever. I'm talking about like 5-10 minutes where you're just not doing anything, right? You're like, 5 or 10 minutes, look at your phone. You're on your phone 6 hours a day. You can find 5 minutes to just be freaking bored. Go walk while you're doing it. And all of a sudden what will happen is all these nerve-sided ideas will start popping up. And where are those nerve-sided ideas coming from? Your inner child. Your inner child's like, hey, let's get a new job. Let's start our own side business. Let's go travel somewhere. They just starts throwing all these ideas and you're like, oh, that's a scary idea. No, listen to that idea. Let me email. Why don't we email that person I've always wanted to email, but I never had the guts to do it. And regardless of whether you accomplish it or not, right? Simply sending that email or simply like looking at maybe starting a podcast or whatever it is, or making a video, you realize that what fear actually is. It's just false evidence appearing real. And then you're like, oh, I can do this. And then you start taking more and more risks. And that's how you get in flow. Calm down, get bored, follow your nerve-sided ideas. And then all of a sudden you'll start to find yourself in flow. Now, what's crazy is imagine talking to your boss and you're like, I need to get bored in order for us to figure out an idea. Yeah, just try it. Just give me 30 minutes where we're not going to do anything. I need to think about this and then just see what actually comes up. Cool. All right. So this is what you can do with your staff, or you can also talk to other people to start doing this. One of the biggest things you can actually help your staff out is to ask this question of your staff. What is the work where they're forgetting about time? What is their flow work? What is their zone of genius work? What is the work where if they weren't getting paid, they'd still do it? Can you carve out, maybe not 4 hours a week, but 30 minutes? Give them 30 minutes a week to pursue something they actually care about. They've been wanting to tackle this problem for a really long period of time. All of a sudden they feel seen, appreciated, heard, understood. Give them the chance, get them into their zone of genius, right? Great way to address burnout. The other way in which they address, and this is kind of off topic, but I still need to say it. Yo, do any of y'all know your staff's languages of appreciation? Have you asked them? What is yours? Do you know yours? Like, how does your boss know how to give to you? Have you communicated this? Because like when you actually, give someone words of affirmation and that's what they love, and you're not just giving it to them like by yourself, but you're doing it in front of other people, that might help them get promoted in the future to another department, which actually then they're like, wow, you actually have my back, right? Or acts of service. Hey, acts of service, that's what you did. Why are we not doing more of this? This is the stuff that is awesome, but also make sure you identify what their actual language of appreciation is. Because if you're like, well, I love gifts, so I'm going to start giving them gifts, and you give them a bunch of Starbucks gift cards and they hate that, then it doesn't matter to them. So this is again about the idea of like, how are we giving to our staff? How are we seeing our staff? And then also challenging our bosses. How are our bosses seeing us? Okay. So we've now gotten through that part. It's time. We're going to get to the play. So you have your 3 play values, right? 3 or 4. Okay. I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer to yes. Come on up here. Come on up. Give her a round of applause. I mean, okay. So this is what we're going to do. You are going to share your 3 play values. Oh, you want to check them?
No, I want to change my mind.
Oh, you're gonna share your play values, and then you're gonna share one way in which you love to work now. That's it. And then what we're gonna do, because we're co-facilitating this, is then we're gonna just start throwing out whatever idea hits our head. And I don't want you to judge that idea. I don't want you to be like, that's a stupid idea, I'm not gonna say it. Just start saying random ideas. Actually, let's grab your pad so that you can write this down, right? And then all you're doing is just documenting this. And then we're all gonna do this. So we're all in charge. What is your name again?
Denise.
Denise Jeff. Pleasure. So we all could give Denise the best idea that actually gets her back into flow at her work. That is the challenge I'm putting out to you right now. Are you ready? Okay, so what are your 3 play values?
Laughing,
Laughing,
no rules,
no rules. Ooh, I'm liking this already.
and you feel free or you don't have any time.
Oh, okay.
Time constraints,
So freedom,
freedom.
laughing, no time constraints. And what is one of your favorite ways to work now?
Like, I don't know what you mean, like of those things?
No, like what do you do now for work that you actually enjoy?
Don't say lunch.
Coffee break, no.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there any,
yeah, I mean, like our team buildings or our, things.
oh, your
like
team
that.
building events, and you coordinate them?
No,
Oh, would you want to?
no,
Oh, good. You like to participate in them.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, got it. Sure. But is there any work that you actually specifically do that you're like? I enjoy this one.
yeah, I mean, I'm a QA, I'm not a BA, sorry, everybody, but, yeah, any kind of, discovery that I find or bugs that I find or anything.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you all know what QA is?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Quality assurance?
Satisfaction of.
Quality assurance. All right, so any of your QA work or potentially the team building stuff, but not you coordinating it, but maybe helping out. And we're talking about laughing, we're talking about freedom, and we're talking about, what's the third one?
No rules.
No rules.
He wants to do exploratory testing.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, wait, so start throwing out ideas, and we're just gonna write, all she's gonna do is just write them down. What else comes up? You say?
Doodling.
Yes, okay, keep going, go.
Joke of the day.
What?
Joke of the day.
Joke of the day, yeah. I think you actually, I know you don't want to coordinate this, so you don't have to coordinate a whole team building event, but I think you just take like a bunch of the people out. You want to like a comedy show or something like that. You know, like let's start. And also one day when do you ever run meetings?
No, that's her job.
Okay, that's her job. Well, then I would challenge her, right? And just be like, okay, we're throwing out all the rules for the meeting. Can we do it a brand new way? We're doing it outside. We're walking, we're going to get ice cream while we're doing this meeting. Like we're breaking all the regular standard things that have put us in a rut. And we're gonna do that for the next 3 meetings and see if we get more ideas that way than the other way. What else? What comes up?
Destructive testing.
What's that?
Destructive.
Destructive.
Oh, destructive testing. What else?
QA something that doesn't matter, like a banana split.
Oh, let's
Right.
go.
I mean, QA something that's irrelevant.
That's irrelevant. I love this. Okay, any others? Wait, what? Oh, automated testing you don't like. Last one.
Have an ice cream social with your team.
Or I've been saying this a lot. Start your meetings with the best food. Like forget about the meeting until you eat really good food. And you're doing that for the first 5 to 10 minutes and not talking about work. You're just talking about how amazing this ice cream is. And then you run your meeting, right? Like
Meeting it today.
yeah, that's the meeting. Like that, everyone's gonna want to go to that meeting. All right, so you see, so this is what we're all gonna do. We're gonna be walking around and we're gonna do this only for like 7 minutes. You're gonna go up to somebody. You're gonna be like, here are my 3 play values. This is one way in which I like to work. What ideas do you have for me? They give you ideas for like a minute or less. You just write them down. You don't question them. You don't go, well, I don't know if I could do that. Just write them down because we're trying to fill our idea piñata with as many ideas as possible. That's all you're doing. And then you thank them. Then they do that to you and you switch and then you high five, you move on to the next person. Get as many ideas. So stand up grab your pads. You're sharing three, here, I'll put it on the board so that we can see. Share play values, brainstorm with the other person, listen, write them down, and then move on to the next person. Got it? All right, find your person, find your person, find as many people as possible. Start sharing. Let's go. They're sharing their play values and they're getting ideas. All right. Get all the ideas. Get all the ideas. Yeah. We need more ideas. All the ideas. You like doing
It makes me laugh even now.
They're getting their ideas. They're getting their ideas. There's so many ideas. Awesome. Make sure to switch, find the next person. If you don't have the person, you can come to me. Here's some stuff.
Start from any of the. So they pretty much, they come to me, say, yeah, we need to get paid to be, or yeah, you also need to come today. Pretty much, we don't know. Yeah, quickly I got to a spot, being that really for talk. Sometimes it becomes frustrating. Are we ready? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Okay. Yeah, you are. Yeah. So we have to act out something when they leave. We gotta act out what behavior we don't want. And then how we're gonna actually solve it. That would be weird. It's gonna be weird, so you have to figure out when they're ready to. Alright, they can just do that without. You're right. You don't realize you're burned out until it's almost. Yes, you did, but I guess that would identify. Yeah. Same thing, moving out of law in 7 years, same set of people. Oh, no. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Like, not only do I have accounts, but everybody's got the same. Yes, okay, all right. Okay, I'll give you about one more minute, one last minute, find that last person. Give them the ideas. We got a. Thing out. I love it.
Data. There.
I want you. In other words, trying to fix the water shower so that everyone enjoys one small thing. To make it fun. That's what it is. Okay, everyone. All right. So you now have so many ideas. Or you have an idea that you see, you're like, oh, I like these ideas, but it actually sparks another idea. Great. Right. So you have all these ideas. So then the challenge then would be for you to look at your list and you're going to circle one of those ideas. You're going to break open the piñata and you're just going to circle your favorite idea that is exciting and doable. And then after you circle it, then I want you to write down the name of someone that's actually going to help you do it. Because if you don't write someone that's going to actually do it with you, you're not going to do it. You're going to leave here and you're just going to keep doing whatever you were doing before. And the burnout comes back, right? So we want to identify one idea that you actually resonated with and then write the name of the person that is actually, you're going to tell, like, this weird dude with the Lego bow tie told me that we have to do this. So I'm going to try it out, right? You can use me as the excuse, but I want you to pick that as accountability, play accountability buddy. And we're not going to do this, but I do recommend this by tomorrow or the next day. Let them know. Can you just please let them know? You know, let them know. You don't just write it and then just forget about it a week from now. Actually tell them tomorrow when you're at work or whatever it is. Oh, it's weekend. Yes. Okay. So on Monday, or whenever you go back to work, tell them, let them know. Okay. This same idea, if you're like, well, I like this, but I didn't get the best ideas. You could do the same thing with this, with your friends, with your spouses. Have some mimosas or ice cream, or whatever gets you in a good mood, and then do this same thing. It's fascinating to do it with your friends. Lastly, remember, flow increases productivity, retention, all that stuff. Keep asking your staff, what is their zone of genius? Keep trying to explore that with them, right? And then constantly celebrate their success, make them feel seen, and also ask your boss so you can feel seen. And then finally, keep trying to help your staff get back into flow, because that is what is going to address burnout. And if you want any of the slides, they're at this website right here. Slides, all of the studies that I reference, all that jazz, or you could just scan this QR code. And if you need me to bring some fun to your organization because you're like, I can't do it alone, then let's talk. That's it.
Jeff, can I make a shout out for you?
Oh, shout outs.
Jeff will be in this building 1 month from today at ClabCon.
Will, I didn't know that it was.
We have posters at the Smarter Consulting table, different topic. Jeff again.
Yeah,
so.
definitely different topic, but yeah, it'll be fun.
It's called ClabCon. And so we've got postcards on the Smarter Consulting table. It is 4 weeks today.
Oh my gosh, okay, that's good to know, okay.
Heads up.
Thank you for letting me know, now I gotta book a flight. Thanks, everybody, I'll see you in the other room.